Hello, my name's Limey Joe, and this is my beginner's guide to Darkest Dungeon. I'm going to start in the staging area you go to between missions. This is where you put together your team of heroes, improve your heroes, and also sort out any issues your heroes get. But first I'm going to take a look at the heroes themselves and go through the basics. Right click on a hero to bring up this screen. Starting on the right hand side you can see the combat skills. Preferred position is important to note because you need to build a balanced team of 4 heroes, one in each of the positions. Underneath that you can see a hero's skills. If you hover the mouse over each skill you can see various details about each one. Where the hero needs to be to use the skill and which enemies or allies the hero can hit. So for example, Smite can only be used when the hero is in the front 2 positions and can only hit the enemy front 2 positions. Sometimes the skill can hit multiple enemies at once, like Zealous Accusation. Then there are skills like Divine Grace that are used on allied heroes to buff them or heal them. Skills may have multiple effects, some good and some bad, so it's important to know all the effects of a skill. You can unlock other skills later in the guild building, but only 4 can be active at once, so consider carefully before spending the money to unlock one. Next is camping skills. One recommendation I do have is camping skills that reduce stress are very useful. Under that you have resistances. The most useful to note is the trap resistance. This shows how effective a hero is at disarming a trap, so it's really helpful to know which of your heroes is best at this. Other things to note are quirks and diseases, which are persistent effects that can be removed in the sanatorium building. Your heroes will pick up more quirks and diseases as they do more quests. Okay, what we're going to do now is go on a quick mission so you can see it in action. This is the staging screen for your missions. As you can see, it only really gives you one mission straight off the bat, and later on you get missions in all of these areas, and they will vary in difficulty and length as well. Initially it's Short Apprentice, which is your basic level 1 mission, and you've got your area here where down the bottom where you can line up your heroes. So the one on the right hand side is at the front and the one on the left hand side is at the back. So really what you want is obviously your tank at the front, and probably your 2 damage dealers somewhere in the middle, and probably a healer at the back. Quick note on mission length. What I would recommend for the starting missions is Short Apprentice level 1 you can use with any hero, so level 0 or level 1 heroes. I found that in order to successfully complete a medium length apprentice mission, you're better off with at least a few level 2 heroes, and once you get to the point of doing the bosses, I would say you want probably a level 3, well, probably all your heroes as level 3 or level 4. So that's just a rough guide of what I would recommend with regards to levels. This here is where you equip your heroes with useful bits of kit for when they're doing their mission. So what I normally do is take 12 bits of food on a short mission, probably double that on a medium mission. I like to go in prepared. You know, I mean, I may not use all of this stuff, but I find that if you want to be successful, you're better off going in over prepared than under prepared. And I usually take bandages, I usually take an anti-venom. I don't necessarily always take holy water. Sometimes it gives you a few things to start with. It's a recommendation for what to take on a particular mission. And torches are extremely important, so make sure you got enough of those. I tend to take 8 and then maybe plus another 1 just to make sure I've got enough, and we'll talk about torches a little bit more once I get into the mission, so probably something like that. Here we go. So this is my team, and by clicking in front of them or clicking behind them I can move them backwards and forwards. So you can see our mission here is to explore 90% of rooms. So once you get to the edge, it just brings up your map screen. You can also get to it by just clicking on the right hand side, and you can also click back to your equipment as well there. So I'm going to click on the next room. You can't click any further than the next room. As you walk along, you'll come across various bits and pieces, and you can loot them. And I basically loot everything. Okay, at this point here you can see what light level we've got. So at the moment we're in radiant light, which is the highest level, but as soon as it drops below 75 you'll go to dim lighting, and instead of you having a positive dodge, positive scouting, monsters are surprised, you'll find that it has less good or even bad effects. The lower the lighting, the worse the effects are. So you want to keep your lighting up above dim, really. Ideally you want to keep it radiant. I'm just going to enter this room, and you'll see that it drops a little bit when you enter a room, and you'll also see that it has some negative effects once I've done that. There we go, so I've met my first bad guys, and the light is dim, so you can see I've got less good dodge, less good scouting, less good monster surprise. I've also got increased stress and increased monster crits, so that's not ideal. So what I would normally do is, if I end up meeting some people, meeting some bad guys in this situation, I would immediately right click on a torch to bring my light level back up again, so that they don't get increased crits. So I get to go first, which is quite nice. I've got two people here, so you can see two of my abilities here are greyed out because I can't hit two places behind. So I'm going to have to go with Incision. And we'll just smack them down a bit. Okay. I find Grape Shot is an excellent starting ability. Not only does it hit three enemies, sorry. Not only does it hit 3 enemies, but it also causes a debuff if it hits correctly. So I've ended up killing that one. But this one's debuffed, so he's not as effective as he would be otherwise. These bones can get in the way. The dead corpses of enemies can get in the way of you hitting them. But once you've got rid of them, they'll all shunt up. So I'm just going to use Judgment on this one. So we are massively outnumbering them here, so it's no real problem just to beat them up. And once you've once you've killed them off, you get a reward. And we might as well check in the chest as well. Some useful stuff.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
As I walk along, I'm keeping an eye on my light levels. I don't really want to let it go dim. So as soon as it gets anywhere near 75, I'm just going to whack another torch on and bump it back up again. Okay, so immediately I can use Grape Shot on all of them and hopefully cause them all to be debuffed. Just click on it. So 2 out of 3 with debuff there, which is great. Also, I can potentially use these abilities here, which will affect this one only if I click on it, because there isn't somebody behind him. If there was 4 of them, there'd be another one behind. You'd affect both of them, but as there isn't, you don't. So I'm not going to use that because it's not really necessary. I'm just going to use the Incision to try and finish off some of the enemies. I would recommend trying to get rid of as many enemies as possible. If you've got an easy hit to kill somebody, just chances are it's a good idea to take it, because the less enemies there are, obviously the better. So in this particular situation, I probably stand a reasonable chance of taking this guy out of action. You can see he's got 4 hit points left, and there's a good chance I'll do enough damage to kill him off. And I did. In fact, I could have taken either of them, but as it is, that's fine. And you see, I gave this guy a bleed effect. So there's various damage over time effects that you can use. Bleed is one, which some of the heroes do. Blight is another, which affects them over time, and these can be really useful, especially for taking out tanky enemies.
Continue the onslaught.
So we finish those guys off pretty easily. Still good light levels. Now this dungeon's pretty easy. My light's gone dim again there, so I'm going to bump it back up. Now one other thing I'll point out is the stress level. Now, if you're not careful, stress can be a real problem in this game. If your stress level gets up to 100, then your heroes go a bit mental, for want of a better word, and they start doing erratic stuff, and also then it can knock on to your other heroes, and they start to gain stress faster, and it's extremely bad. If it goes over 100, it's bad. If it gets up to 200, your hero actually dies of a heart attack. So try and manage your stress, and my advice is don't be scared to back out of a mission by pressing the retreat from combat or the retreat from the mission option up here if it all starts going a bit wrong, because obviously the last thing you want really is your experienced heroes being killed. So with this one here, you can see this character here has Stressful Incantation, which will increase my stress levels. So typically, if I see a hero that has a skill that increases my stress levels, I will kill them first if I possibly can. So I'm going to use the Plague Bomb just on this one, just to start ticking away some damage on that one. The Plague actually does quite a lot of damage, so it's pretty good. And I'm going to grape shot them all, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to hit this one, because he's got less hit points than the other one. Kill him off.
A faint hope blossoms.
And I'm going to blast this one. Again, because of the stress ability that one can use. And she is going to use, in fact. Fortunately, she missed for me. I'm playing in the easier level. This is the sort of beginner's version of the game, as it were. If you obviously it's more difficult if you go for the more difficult level. Still radiant.
Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
So sometimes you'll end up with too much stuff in your bag, and you'll have to make a difficult choice as to what to keep and what to dump. Scouting, which is what we just did there, is super useful. So if you can get a hero that's good for scouting, then that's worth having. Okay, you can see the lights dim here, so I'm going to bump it back up. Now on the floor here you can see there's a trap. We were lucky because it did some scouting, and it's revealed it on our minimap here. I can zoom in a little bit so we can see it. But you can see there's a trap there. I didn't check to see which one of my heroes was best at disarming traps. So I'm just going to guess it's the Highwayman, because I think he's reasonably good at it. And you just click on it and it either disarms it or doesn't. If you miss it and just walk over it, obviously then one of your guys will get injured from the trap. And I think that's probably pretty much all I need to go through on this. So you can see I've skipped to the end of the mission that I was doing, and this is the victory screen, and it shows you here obviously whether you've gone up a level. It also shows you whether you've got any positive or negative quirks, any diseases, any of that kind of thing. You can hover the mouse over to see what quirks your heroes have got or diseases during that mission. Sometimes you get events in this screen here, and they can be quite useful. Things like your sanitarium is free for a turn. If you successfully complete a mission, and sometimes during a mission you'll pick up trinkets. So most trinkets have a positive and a negative effect, and it's just a matter of picking the appropriate trinket for each hero. So for example, speed obviously makes a difference to how quickly you go. When you meet enemies, if you've got high speed, then you're going to go before them. So some things are more important for certain types of heroes than others. So speed, for example, is probably not super important for a healer, because obviously you don't really need them to be going first, because chances are no one's going to be injured. So you might as well, if you get one that has a negative effect on speed, you may as well just give it to your healer. Then she'll get extra dodge, but the speed effect, the -1 speed, is not really going to be a major problem. Okay, in town here, the stagecoach is probably the most important part of the town. This is where you get new heroes. The thing which I try and aim for is this one here, experienced heroes. Provides a chance of higher level recruits appearing in the stagecoach, because obviously once you get a bit further into the game, you don't want them to be level 0 when you hire them, because otherwise you've got to go through a whole bunch of low level missions in order to be able to get them up to a point where you can use them again. And you can see that it requires you to get certain prerequisites before you can take that, and this is where you spend your resources, which you also pick up during the mission. So you can see down here you've got resources. One more tip I will give you is that the level of each hero is obviously important when it comes to doing quests, but if you try and do a low level quest with a high level hero, they will basically refuse to do it. They get to a point where they will just say, no, that's below me, I'm not doing that. So you want to be careful with that. So for example, with the early bosses, which I've said you need to be level 3 or 4, if your hero gets to level 5, then they won't do that boss. They just say, no, that's too easy for me, I'm not doing it. That concludes my beginner's guide for Darkest Dungeon. I hope you have as much fun playing the game as I do, and thanks for watching.